I thought I knew beer. As a kid, I drank Dab and Dortmunder Union,
Yeah.
Watney's Red Barrel. It's just like I was a man of the world, which didn't know shit. But in my mind, as
Yeah.
a 17-year-old drinking beer, I thought I knew.
Oh, you're pretty sophisticated for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, well, I did. I remember the first time I went to a keg party with my schoolmates, and they had Miller. That I literally spit it out. I was like, "What's this?" I was a beer snob at 17. I was like, "Oh my god!" But I was always driven to find new and the best. Now is the whole mission of Monks is to find the best version of any style of beer.
Yeah.
And if the style doesn't exist, we'll make it.
Yeah.
If I think it's going to be viable.
Welcome back to the Brewdad Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum. And today we have on the Godfather himself, Tom Peters of Monks. I don't really need to give an introduction to kind of what Monks is or who you are, but we're excited to have you in the studio. Excited to hear about you, your story, Monk's story, and really why we had you on here is try all these delicious beers. So yeah, to get into it.
I brought along some beers that I made with some incredible breweries. So I'm really blessed that I can go around the world and brew with the world's best brewers.
Yeah,
we do special beers just for Monks.
Very cool. We just had Michael Rose on, so the Rolodex that he has and people that he's worked with was very impressive.
Yeah.
But you're talking about your best friends or very good friends with the Roy family and kind of all these other world-known brewery families. So kind of
sometimes it's good to be the old guy.
yeah.
It's funny the difference in presentation with Mike's New Trail cans and what you brought in.
Yes, well, that's
both great, but
yeah. Well, I love the label art. Very customized. We had a hand in some of them. That particular one, that unicorn is from the back bar, the tapestry hanging in the back bar.
Wow, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's a series that hangs in the Cluny Museum in Paris.
Yeah.
And they're huge. We have a postage stamp size compared to the originals. And the 5 senses. So I purchased one made out of silk and wool that represented the sense of taste.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I see this Cantillon bottle over here. It has your actual name on it.
Well, this came about. This beer, Jean and I talked about it this one.
Yeah.
John and my daughter and I talked about it. So my daughter lives in New Zealand, and she was in Brussels with some of her friends. So we stopped by, and we decided what we were going to make. And we're going to make a beer with some rhubarb in it and some raspberry.
Cool.
So we, open up a bottle of NAF and and then we open up a bottle of Rosé de Cabrines Lou Beppe framboise, and we kind of blended them together. It's like, okay, this is the basic concept. So when Jean said, okay, I have time to make this beer now, so he put the rhubarb in the cask, and it has a limited amount of time you can stay in there until it develops sulfur compounds. And so you have like a 3-day window. So he said, okay, we're going to do this on Monday. And he calls me and tells me. I was like, well, that's pretty interesting because my Eagles are in the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Which one do you like more?
I said, I'm not going to miss my football team.
Yeah.
And he's a big soccer fan of his football team, so he totally understood. Then on Tuesday, I did a dinner with Tommy Arthur, and Tommy tends to hang out later at night, so it was a long evening. And on Wednesday, I'm checking my emails in the afternoon, and he goes, we're going to do it tomorrow. So I get online. It's like, I got to fly to Belgium tonight. So I get online, and it's ridiculous airfares. And then I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I asked my wife, I was like, you cool with me just bugging out? So I, put some stuff in a backpack, a little knapsack, and then the window was 2 hours before the flight left, so I could no longer get it online. I had to go to the airport.
Oh my God.
So American Airlines co-shares with British Airways.
Yeah.
American Airlines could no longer book my flight. So I had to go to British Airways. And it was, I said, I need to be in business class. I need to sleep before I go. And she said, $18,000.
Oh my
I
God.
said, I don't want to buy the plane. I just want to ride in it.
You get like a private jet for less than that.
So, you know, we talked, and I was very cordial with her because there's nothing she can do. And I said, is there no one that can authorize an override? She goes, no. And she keyed in things. It was $9,000 to ride in coach because they were getting ready to leave. And I said, that algorithm is backwards because it's an empty seat. You can put an ass in that seat right now. And, I said, okay, I'll go home and get one online, and I'll call Jean and see if we can delay it one more day.
Yeah.
And so my wife was waiting in the parking lot at the Philadelphia airport, and I call her and said, come get me. And then a lady comes rushing out from British Airways and said, hang up the phone.
You called their bluff.
So
Special
went
deal
in
just
there.
for you.
Well, then suddenly $6,000 seemed like a steal to me. It's all how you do it. So it's like, all right, I'll pay $6,000, and they put me in first class. So, but they had to walk me through security because they were going to board.
It was already boarding.
Yeah. So they walked me through security. I handed the ticket, and she goes, "Oh, you're upstairs." I'm like,
Upstairs.
What? So we climbed up the stairs, and it was an awesome flight.
I could imagine.
So
Ready for the Eagles win?
Eagles won.
That's a good week.
It was. So I got off the plane, hop on the train, go to Cantillon, throw up my backpack, and we get right to blending. And it's like, I'm so happy I got some sleep. Had no hotel or anything yet, so I just, after working for about 6 hours, went up and got a hotel and stayed the night and flew back the next day.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So, no, it was a couple days later. So when, it was there, I think I stayed 2 nights, and I said, I want to take some bottles home. And Jean-Pierre said, Jean's father said, there are no labels. I was like, make some for me. So he drew 3 labels.
What?
So he drew this, and I said, oh, I'm the fat guy here, right?
Oh my God.
So it was the Van Waal and the Peters family tree. So
that's crazy. What a story.
So I incorporated that into the label.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
That's so cool.
The best opening to a podcast we've had. So how do you go from that, or how do you get to there? I mean, that's the craziest beer story I've ever heard. Like, how does one get to that level? I guess.
Well, again, it's good to be the old guy in the business. So, Jean was working as an assistant to his father at Cantillon when I first started going. My first trip to Belgium was in '84. Yeah. And they weren't selling a whole lot of beers at that point, and none were in the United States. But I did load my suitcase up with Cantillon before I came back.
From your first trip?
Oh, yeah.
So you're pretty much hooked from the first time you went over there? I
was blown away. I was like, I'd never had anything like it before. And some bartenders in Brussels, is some lady who spoke only Flemish, and I spoke
Flemish?
None. Just enough to get my face slapped.
Do you speak Flemish now?
A little bit. Yeah, enough to get not conversationally at all, but I can get a hotel room. I can order food.
Cool.
Yeah, I can say thank you and please excuse me. It's entirely my fault.
So they won't slap you anymore.
That's what anywhere I go. That's the first phrase I learn. Is please excuse me, it's entirely my fault. Because I can tell when I've offended someone.
Yes.
So, shall we taste the beer?
Let's taste some beer.
So, this was done for our 10th anniversary. So, I do one every 5 years at Cantillon. So, this is an older cork, which is why I brought a screw pull to pull it out straight. And hopefully this comes out. And we did this in 375s and in 750s. This is the only version that we did in both sizes.
And how do these work? You just go over there and you blend some beer with them?
This is the first time I ever blended a beer.
Okay.
And Jean led me through. We found the base barrel, the 3-year-old, and that's easy because there's not a lot of them. So you taste, I think he maybe had 6 barrels of 3-year-old.
Yeah.
So we tasted one and said, okay. And then you find a 2-year-old that'll enhance what you liked about the 3-year-old or complement it. And that was difficult. We went through a lot of barrels. Work is tough. But I take copious notes, and each barrel has a code on it from what season it is, what batch it was.
Yeah.
So you know how long it's been sitting there. Then we kind of skipped over the 2-year-old and went to a 1-year-old, found one that was really bright and citrusy and lively. And then we went back to the 2-year-old, and the batch that I liked the least, we tasted another barrel of, and it was awesome. So it really drove home the point of each barrel.
You needed 3 to then fit the 2.
Well, to do a Algouz, you have to do a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and 1-year-old.
If you didn't like the 2, like you needed to taste the 3 also to kind of.
Well, we had the 3 and we had the 1, but we revisited the barrels that are 2 years old.
Yeah.
And so the one that we selected for it was from the same brew batch as the barrel that we tasted in the first round.
Yeah.
That I liked.
But it was just a different barrel.
Different barrel.
And just totally different.
Yeah. So it made me understand how individual the microclimates are for each barrel and how that affects the final beer.
And I mean, I understand the basic, like you're tasting these beers and you're trying to like, get some more balance or like accentuate different flavors. But like when you're actually tasting it, like how does that process work? Because the beer is sour. Does it just destroy your palate immediately? Like,
no.
How are you?
No, they're subtle. They're elegant beers. So, and that's the first batch. So this was bottled.
What year was this?
Well, it would have been 2007 that we made the beer.
Wow.
It was bottled in January of 2008.
Evan, how old were you in 2007?
10 years.
What's
10,
that? Like, I think you're 12 years old.
2007, I was 9. I was 9.
Voila.
Wow.
Wow.
So the carbonation is obviously soft.
Yeah.
Got little oak notes to it in the aroma.
What are the flavors like for the 3-year-old versus the 2-year-old? Is it like distinct flavors?
No, each barrel is its own microclimate. So you taste through and you find one that you think is really a blendable beer. There's some component of that barrel that you think, oh my God, I need to make a beer with that.
Do you guys ever taste it and you're like, this is not it? Like,
well, you taste through the barrels.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when we did this one, we used 4-year-old barrels. I tasted one, I was like, ooh, that's definitely not it. No, when we tasted the 4-year-old barrel, the one, that's like everyone's like, yeah, this is it. So how do you like this?
It's really good. I mean, it's definitely not. It's not as sour. I think you need to move the mic closer.
Yeah, a little closer to you.
Okay.
It's definitely not as sour as I thought it was going to be. I just assumed that some of these, like the older ones, just like kind of picked up a little bit, but
well, they don't have a lot of acetic acid, so you don't get that heartburn.
There's no burn. It's just like some like tartness on the tongue, but it's
elegant
for something that's been in the bottle for like nearly 20 years.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and again, the cork has a lot to do with it. Sometimes the cork's moist. You lay them on their side. I stood this up a few days ago so it could settle and it could pour clearly. Otherwise, the sediment would be, a turbid look to it.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's, I guess we need a dump bucket unless your dump bucket is you.
I don't know if we have a dump bucket. I mean, I'm down to drink these.
Yeah, well, I'm pouring less for me then.
Yeah. Cole, could we grab? I don't know if we have a bucket out there. There's a lot of beers here. I don't want us to.
True.
I'll pour smaller portions.
All right.
Yeah, so it definitely has a sourness to it. But, imagine eating this with a plate of sushi at Royal Izakaya. Jesse Ito is putting these amazing fishes in front of you.
Yeah, and you're getting this, like, the Brett flavor of, like what they say is, like, horse blanket or, like, these, like, farmhouse flavors. But
it's
not
pretty subtle.
overpowering. It's
It's very
subtle.
subtle. Yeah, so we blended this to be able to lay down 30, 40 years. The oldest lambic I've ever tasted at that time was, I think, 56 years old.
Wow. It's like rare to get wine that old.
And sometimes you taste them when they're 20 years old and they've oxidized, so they have the sherry notes to them. Others...
are you able to use any of those? Like, are you able to kind of like blend those off or kind of like accentuate?
Well, once it's bottled, it's bottled. Okay. So you can't, pour them back in. Yeah. So that batch you've waited too long. Like, I have wines that I've waited too long. It's like,
Is there, like, your cellar is obviously incredible at Monk's. Is there, like, you guys have, like, a percentage, like, you're assuming maybe 5% or 3% of the bottles are kind of, like, oxidized, or they're... No,
we really take good care of them.
Okay.
So if there's a problem with the beer, it's with the cork.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And can you see that? You can't really tell.
Well, when you pull the cork, you often know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like,
it'll hit you.
That's why I brought this handy device, because it pulls it straight up. Sometimes if you have a regular waiter's church key, as you're pulling it to the side, and the cork can break.
Got it.
So these are awesome for vintage. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty tasty.
It's delicious.
And so we could go to, now this is just a straight out of goose, so it's a 3, 2, and 1 year old.
Yeah.
This one is a 4, 3, and 2 year old. This is the one we did for our 25th anniversary. And as I said, and it's called 5 Generations. And the gentleman, Amo, who does a lot of the labels, created this label for us. I was like, we're a united family.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so we did the tree of the Cantillon Benoit family and the Thomas Peters family.
Can you speak? I mean, you know them so well. Can you speak a little bit about, like, it was Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
His wife was
Claude. His wife Claude.
Cantillon, right?
Right. She is the last of the Cantillons still associated, direct descendant.
And was he a brewer when they met, or like how did he kind of come in? And
he just said he was going to learn how, so he learned from Claude's father.
Yeah.
And then he became the brewer.
And Cantillon today is like widely considered one of the best breweries in the world, if not the best. But like, what was? Do you know like what it was back then? Was it was just still? I mean, Michael Jackson hadn't like brought this out into the world. Was it like just that kind of hidden?
Well, Michael Jackson certainly opened a lot of people's eyes to niche breweries like this, who are not really niche, they're more historic. This brewery on that site was from 1900.
5 generations.
Yeah. Well, 5 generations is 3 from the Cantillon Benoit family and 2 from my family.
Yeah.
I tried to get my mother to come, but she was 96 at the time, and she didn't want to go. And
just brings them back.
I told her she's such a loser. Come on, Mom. But she had been to, when I got knighted into the Brewers Guild back in 2002 or something.
Yeah.
My mother came. My mother, my wife, and my daughter
Very
came.
cool.
Wow.
So the 3 women that most important to me were with me. So my mother, I tried to get her to come, but she wasn't up. I think 96. All right. So it was 5 generations.
Very cool.
I flew my daughter in from
New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's a long flight.
Yeah, very long flight.
I'm assuming it wasn't a one day before you buy the ticket flight?
No, I planned ahead for this, so it was not as expensive. Okay, where did I put that church key?
This right
Oh, yeah, there it is. I'll use the official Cantillon. So these baskets, if you look at like Bruegel paintings, you always see people with either baskets laying there or they have clay pitchers on the table. Most of those clay pitchers held straight lambic. So we have commissioned Philadelphia artist that went to PAFA and studied in Bruges. I commissioned him to do part of the peasant's wedding. and on it I wanted a child there, and I wanted a family scene, but important to have a child and have some red color in it and picture.
Why is that?
It's part of the feng shui.
Okay.
We had our restaurant feng shui before we opened. You got to have positive energy flow.
Yes.
I'm not all that new agey, but I do believe in energy.
Okay. So as we're drinking these, can you speak a little bit? Can we like kind of go through the history of kind of how you got here? I mean, we're tasting these beers that are going to be some of the best. Yeah, they're older than you. Some of the best beers that I've probably ever had.
I almost brought a 1968 Thomas Hardy.
Oh my God!
I knew that was going to be older than either of you, but the oldest one I could find was 76, maybe.
Wow.
The 68 was the first batch that Eldridge Pope made Thomas Hardy.
It's a whale.
I'm a very patient man.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be.
So you open it like this, where it's on its side like this?
Yeah. So you're trying not to disturb it, so you don't want the yeast coming back up. So I do. Here, I'll dump this into here because I am not going to drink that much beer.
They're working on getting a bucket for us.
Okay. So this is more lively because this is fresher.
Thank you.
Look at all
Don't you have anything larger?
Does that have the plug in it?
Yes.
Important consideration.
Where did you find that?
That was in the closet somewhere.
That's a big closet.
Unfortunately, there's not a smaller one.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
So
This one, it smells a lot brighter. It smells like almost like
citrusy.
citrusy.
Yeah, because and it'll change. Yeah, we also made this to lay down for 20 or 30 years. So so I look to the future for that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So this was in 375s?
And 750s.
750s?
Yeah.
Was this just in 750s?
Yeah, all the others were just 750s,
Okay.
except for the Creek, which I only did on draft.
Okay.
And I did not.
Do you have any of these other ones on draft?
Yeah, I've had this on draft. I'm pretty sure I poured my last keg of this, but I saved a few of these for our 30th anniversary. As you get older, you start planning ahead.
Yeah.
When you're young, it's just young and stupid.
The
Now
30th.
I'm older and less stupid.
Yes. Consistent.
So if you want to
Thank
cleanse
you.
your palate,
Definitely.
when I go to beer festivals, I always have
Yeah.
a baguette. I feel like I'm a Frenchman. I should wear a beret.
Better than the pretzel.
Yeah, better than a pretzel. Yeah, because this is flavor neutral.
Yeah.
It's a little messier, but
Yeah. Worry about that later.
yeah. So this Metropolitan, they make good baguette.
Okay.
It's really good. So you blended this one as well?
I blended this one with my daughter, Jean, and Jean's son, Florian.
Yeah.
So 3 generations from the Cantillon
Cool.
Benoit family and 2 from my family.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it was a great experience. It didn't take all day. Sometimes they take hours to put
Yeah.
together. But this came together in just, like 3 hours maybe. We chose the barrels and then
I guess it's luck of the draw, If you pick you're picking like barrels, you don't know if they're going to be good or bad. And it's like,
well, you taste them, that's the only way to know
Yeah.
whether it's not good or bad is whether it complements the original. So the
Do
4-year-old barrels were in the sub basement.
Yeah.
And I think there were 4 of them.
wow.
And they're large, so we tasted through, and when we tasted the one barrel, it was funny that we're all tasting it, and we all look at each other with, our noses in the glass. It's like, yeah, this is it.
barrel.
And there weren't a lot of 3-year-old barrels, so the choices were more limited when you had a 4, 3, and 2-year-old blend than a 3, 2, and 1.
So you're blending it. Are there rules or are there like Like, what are the percentages of each? It really
No-
depends.
no-
It doesn't
No
matter.
rule.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what works.
Yeah.
But to be an Oude, O-U-D-E,
Yeah.
it has to be a 3, 2, and 1 year old.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So.
So this has a little bit more acid in it,
Mhm.
but it has more citrus up front. I think the acidity will dissipate over the next few years, and in 10 years, this is going to be stupid good.
Yeah.
It's already stupid good, but
Yeah, it has less of the farmhouse flavors. This is
Mhm.
just bright, citrusy, clean.
well, the 4-year-old was really bright and citrusy, which was what blew all of our minds. It's like, wait, this has been sitting in this sub-basement,
Yeah.
and there's cobwebs all over these bottles. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, let me see those bottles too, by the way.
So we had Matt Farber on. He runs the Rowan Brewing School,
Mm-hmm.
and he had mentioned that like a lot of these breweries, because the Brett and some of these other like microbes, they feed on like the longer chain sugars in the actual wood itself. So it's like the cobwebs and everything. Like the environment itself is like a part of the beer. Where
Oh, yeah.
breweries here, it's like it's so sterile. It's like it's stainless steel tanks. The brewery itself is all about like how clean you can keep it,
Oh,
to,
yeah.
like how perfect it can be, and it's cool. It's like no, we need this cobweb here. This is part of it.
Yeah, that cobweb stays.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know where it's coming from. When Cantillon put a new roof, they had to put a new terracotta roof on over their cool ship.
Yeah.
They were quite nervous because when you pour the beer into the cool ship, and it's, I don't know if you've seen a cool ship, it's maybe 15 feet wide and 15 feet long and a foot deep. So you have all the surface area exposed to the air. So when you pump the hot wort up there, the steam just starts rising. And the Cantillon has a copper one, and it's kind of fun when it first hits. You can hear the loud bangs of the copper expanding. Boom, boom. People like get jolted by it. But the condensation rises to the terracotta tiles,
Yeah.
and then it drips back down. My theory is, and I spoke with Michael Jackson about it, is like that the microbes are living up there, and that's part of the inoculation process.
Yeah, definitely.
Is when this condensation falls back into the hot wort. And
They've been growing up there for 124 years, 125 years.
yeah.
When they replaced the roof, did they keep the same wood up there?
Well, the wood was the same. They had
Yeah.
a sister a couple of the beams, but they saved old tiles
Okay.
and they stuck them underneath.
Oh, cool.
So that was still,
Inoculate with their
Yeah,
roofing material.
yeah. yeah. And
And when are they when you guys taste the barrels, is this kind of like the first time that they're tasting it, or like they're kind of tasting it every once in a while? So they have a general idea about like which barrels, like how they're doing, where they're at.
well, I think the 4-year-olds were just
Let 'em
dormant.
sit. Yeah.
They're not going to be using those
Yeah.
until they do something special.
How many barrels like are for 4 year? Like how many are there?
Well, they're larger barrels than the normal ones.
Uh-huh.
As you walk through the Cantillon Brewery, I don't know how many gallons, maybe 30 to 40 gallons.
Yeah.
They're pretty big, but the 4-year-olds were huge. They had to be 120 gallons.
A butt of beer.
Yeah. And it's, cobweb encrusted.
Yeah.
And, it's an
And
awesome site.
They have different levels of cellars, you're saying?
Well, the sub-basement is where they just kind of put stuff to try to forget about.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, let's use some of that.
Patience is a
forgotten.
virtue.
Oh, it is, yeah. Time doesn't respect anything done without it.
Yes.
That's what they have in their brewery.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so you always have to think about time, as patience is so important. As when you're brewing anything, we're doing anything,
Yeah.
anything in life, cooking, eating, reading, conversation, just have to have the patience to do it, be open to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So compare this to the one, the 2008. So this was bottled in 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 15 years older.
Yeah, so
Are-
you
do
can
they-
see how long these can cellar if cellared
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah. And you're selling it what? You have like specific temperature. Is it like a humidity thing as well?
I can't do that at the restaurant.
Okay.
At my house, I do. I have bottles with, wine cellar
Yeah.
with humidity and temperature control. And of course, I have several of these stashed and several of those stashed.
I'm sure.
A lot of things stashed.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, they're different, but there's the same basis, same theory of blending 3 different vintages together, and it's not in percentages. It's about, and it's not for consistency. It's brewing for harmonious flavor.
Is there like
so every batch is different. You can't say, oh, I've had Cantillon Goose. I know what it tastes like. It's like, well, you know what that batch tasted like. Each one has nuanced differences.
Is there a tactic on how you do it? Like you're tasting like the base beer, you're kind of like looking for a certain type of body or tartness, acidity level or carbonation, anything. Like, is there something that like you're kind of looking for first and building upon that?
Yeah, these all have 0 carbonation because they're finished fermenting.
Yeah.
Well, the 1-year-old had a little bit, but.
But as far as the rest of like the body or the acidity, are there certain things that like you're looking for first and you're building upon that?
Well, you're again, you go to the oldest beer and you just find something that strikes you as awesome. And then that's
how can we
why.
Enhance this?
How can I create something with this?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
And so you want to highlight that what you perceive as awesome.
Cool. So like taking whatever notes that is exemplifying and then just trying to balance it or enhance it or doing something with it.
Yeah, we did a blend with Sean Hill, my friend.
Farmstead?
Yeah. And that it was a Works of Love, and that was to be for our 20th anniversary, but the beer wasn't quite ready. It came out for our 25th anniversary. Sean's very particular, and which is why his beers are so awesome.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, it's good, but not yet.
Yeah, it's like you have other places that are like, okay, a few weeks. This is like, give us like 5 more years, and
it's not perfect yet.
Yeah, just give us some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would pop up to the brewery and we'd pop a bottle every so often and taste. It's like, nah. He goes, yeah, that's good. I said, well, you ready? He goes, well, yeah. And then I wouldn't hear radio silence for 6 months. Like, come on, Sean. He goes, well, it's not really ready yet. But that was the longest blending. That was 3 days of tasting barrels, taking notes, and coming back again. And
What are the main differences between like Hill Farmstead and like the?
Well, Cantillon has way more capacity.
Just way more options.
Yeah, it's just.
But it is the same general process that you're doing.
Same process.
Okay.
Yeah, and learning from a master like Jean Benoit is like incredible. It was great to have that experience.
Yeah.
But when I went to do this 20-year anniversary blend, we tasted so many barrels, and we talked about Sean's a philosopher and a scientist and art lover.
Yeah.
Like he's a very complex. Yeah, it's a great blend, which is why his beers are so creative and so clean and beautiful and so well balanced. But as we're tasting through, we're discussing each barrel. I'm writing my notes, and we're just discussing each barrel. But I remember getting to one barrel and tasting it, and it reminded me of a specific style of wine. And I said, Sean, what does this remind you of? And it's a style that we both like. It's a Montrachet, a white Burgundy. It's like, this reminds me of a Bellini Montrachet. So it had these mineral content in it, and like peach character, like these stone fruit character.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is awesome. He goes, okay, you can have one. And then we tasted the next one, also from the same batch. I was like, oh, that's great. I'll take these two. And he goes, you can't have that one. I was like, you told me I could have any barrel I wanted. He goes, yeah, but you can't have that one. I said, why can't I have it? And he said, that barrel has achieved singularity. And I said, what the fuck does that even mean? But he was going to do a special bottling of just that. And it was awesome.
It's just perfect as it is. Doesn't need anything else to it.
Not going to screw this up. This is awesome. But I got one of the two. And then once we found that one, then we had to change tactics as to I had to go through all my tasting notes to
Yeah.
see what was going to enhance that character. And I think we nailed it. That beer is so awesome. And that sold so fast.
I'm sure.
Man, it's like I should have kept more and more and more. I have a few bottles in my wine cellar, but that's it.
That's got to be tough, like you want to try all these, but like you're saying, patience. It's just like the long way. Like you have to
Sean has it.
wait for the perfect time.
Jean and Sean both have it. They just like, yeah. So like I said, I'm so lucky that I had the opportunity to know these people when they started out. Not Jean, but not the Cantillon family, but I knew Sean Hill before he opened the brewery.
Yeah.
And I knew Vinny when he first opened. I met Matt Brindelson before he won Brewer of the Year multiple
like
times.
8 times in a row.
Yeah, he's just like a metal machine, like Bob Barrar at 2SP. He was like a metal machine. It's like, I'll take that gold, please. Like he always wins. And then I get to, we can change it up a little bit and go with, this is from De Molen, which in little town of Bodegraven in the Netherlands. And Menno, Olivier, is the brewer. He's like this. He would block that whole doorway. He's a big Netherlands guy and wide and just like a teddy bear. Yeah, he hires people with Down syndrome as a special project so they have a job, and they dip certain bottles in wax, and that's their whole job. And they're at the brewery all day, every day, 5 days a week. So they have a career. Yeah. And by happenstance, it's called the Philadelphia program.
Wait, why is that?
Don't know.
It's
brotherly love.
You?
No, it's brotherly love.
Very cool.
Yeah. So let's see if I can get this.
I don't know much about this brewery.
Well, there we go. So De Molen initially, so I'm gonna dump here.
You don't want to dump in our trash can over here?
I will in a minute. So there, wait. Let's just do these.
Okay, cool.
So this is an Imperial Stout. And before you even smell it, I have to give you some background. So this is the second batch. And it took me a year to convince Menno that what I wanted to do would be viable. And I wanted to make an Imperial Stout with smoked malt.
Yeah.
But I wanted Beechwood smoked malt. Okay. So we used 20% of the malt bill for the first batch was Beechwood smoked malt. We used 60%
that's
in
a lot.
this. And it was...
I've heard you say previously that you really like smoked malt.
I think smoked malt has a wider range of character than most people think.
Yeah.
So there was no peat smoked malt in this beer at all Beechwood smoked. And it went through primary fermentation with a standard yeast. The first batch we used Guinness yeast. I don't recall what yeast we were drinking that day, so I don't recall what yeast we decided for the primary fermentation. Then he pumped it into Bowmar barrels, so from Scotland. And it's a very peated whiskey. So while there was no peat character in the beer we brewed, we let it sit in those barrels for 3 years, and we put pitch Brettanomyces in each of the barrels.
Wow.
So 11.5%. So chocolate and espresso.
That smells so good.
You get smokiness to it.
That's like mole. There's like 1,000 different flavors in this.
Yeah,
It's got some tobacco, some chocolate.
Yeah, it's lots of depth. But the unusual thing about it is at one point on my palate, it tastes like a chocolate-covered cherry.
To me, almost beef jerky, like chocolate-covered beef jerky. I don't know.
But there's no fruit in it at all.
I know.
Yeah.
But it has like the sweetness from the alcohol. I don't know.
Then the Brett hits you back here with the tartness.
Yeah. There's so many going, like, there's the two different types of smoked malts, and then there's just, like, it's also an 11% stout, and then, like, the Brett, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's,
This could be one of the best beers I've ever probably had. Genuinely.
Thank you.
This is so good.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's a great brewer, and he's just an amazing man too.
And what do they brew mostly? I mean, I imagine this is what they brew mostly.
They do a lot of big
Stouts.
malty beer,
Okay.
and they all have like two names, Heaven and Hell, and things. So Rook and Lear is smoke and leather. So
I do get some leather, yeah.
yeah. So that the leather's from the Brett, the smoke is from the malt. And he goes, "Is this like an S&M beer?" And it's like, "No, give me the smoking leather room. Come on."
That's crazy.
But it's so many flavors that
Yeah.
continue on. But
Yeah,
you
like
know,
I'm
it'd be great
done
with the
drinking
mole.
it.
You're right. That
It was. It
that-
tastes
that
just
now.
like it. It's got the sweetness and like the
But
the
11.5%. There's and with Brettanomyces, there's no sugar left in this bad boy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just
That's tricky.
when Felicia helped me brew this, and she been my assistant for many years, and now she lives in New York, and she does our social media.
Okay.
Just nails it. But she and I were unwrapping all the malt bags to dump into the hopper to grind. And you have to, I don't know if you've ever opened malt
Yeah.
bags, you have to pull the string just right, or else it just all bunches up.
You get good at it, but you pop the second one in, and then you pull it off at a
Yeah.
certain angle, and it all comes off. When you do it right, it feels good. When you don't do it, it's
But
very
when you're under
frustrating.
pressure, and it's a
Yes.
big mill, and you have 50-pound bags of malt, and you're trying to like really.
Yeah, and they're like looking,
Like,
the
come
brewers
on.
looking down at you, and they're like, "What's going on?" You're getting too
And we
much
had to
water."
hit stop a couple times. It was like stop because we just couldn't get it going. Felicia said it was like Lucy and I Love Lucy at work in the chocolate line. Everything
Yeah.
was going too fast, and she starts eating them and stuff. It's like we were just trying to get these things into the mill. It was a fun day, but the beer turned out awesome.
Yeah, this beer's amazing.
It's
What year was this beer?
This is probably 21. So they label it for 10 years, but it can go 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it's 3 or 4 years old, and like you said, you taste like we keep aging. I mean, I feel like it's perfect right now. And it's like
Yeah,
just keep changing, but like different type of perfect.
This was a plate of cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What over the course of the if you age it another 10 years, what would the differences in flavors then?
we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bought 80 cases of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So
I had to get a whole container. I had to finish filling the container, and it was 2 pallets. I'm like, I'll take both pallets.
wow.
And I said, you have to hold one of the pallets for me.
So when you got started, I mean, you came back with these beers in, I'm assuming, your suitcase for the first time.
Oh, I believe that might be illegal. I would never do such a thing.
You did all above board, but
Yeah.
when you got back and you're like, I want to start getting some of these beers over here.
Yeah.
It was Eddie Freeland, I guess, was the importing distributor that was like bringing.
Yeah.
Was he the only person that was bringing any of these beers over?
Well, it was Don Feiberg and Wendy Littlefield who had Van Bergen de Wolf.
Okay,
And
that was
they were-
another beer distributor.
That was an importer.
Okay.
Eddie was not an importer; he was a distributor.
Okay.
So Don and Wendy Van Bergen de Wolf brought in Duvel, DuPont.
And are they just in Philly?
They had the national
Okay,
import
and
for
it was just beer, or were they doing beer and wine and kind of all different things?
just beer.
Okay.
And then Charlie and Rose from Merchant de Vin, they were bringing in Lindemans and Orval. They were just bringing in all these niche things. And
Yeah.
Charlie Saxon was bringing in Corsendonk and some other beers. So I would reach out to the importers and tell them, here's a beer I would like to get. Could you bring that in for me? Then you'd have
They
to
just
find a
figure out a way to
distributor.
get it.
Yeah, they would just go to the brewery and make arrangements. They had a license to do this and ship it to Antwerp, put it on a ship, come into Newark, come off. go to a distributor, and then Eddie Friedland would bring it to me. But Eddie Friedland was the only person out there, as a Philadelphia distributor, willing to take the risk of doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I heard in another podcast that you did that. Like when he brought you, I guess was it Cantillon or something? No, not Cantillon. It was Chimay or something.
Mm-hmm.
He brought the glassware also. I guess they had to bring the glassware because like beer glassware, especially glassware, probably didn't exist back then.
Right.
That was easily accessible.
Right. So yeah, when he first brought in Chimay, that was in '85.
Okay.
Or 86 maybe. I was still working at Café Nola when I was on South Street before, next to the TLA.
Yeah.
I was talking to the owner of the restaurant. The owners, Bill Curry and Judy DeVagaris. I said, here's a beer I'd like to get. And they were saying that nobody's going to pay $8 for a beer.
Was this immediately after your trip? Like you kind of came back with this mission, like I'm going to bring these back.
Oh yeah, I'm very driven. I thought I knew beer. As a kid, I drank Dab and Dortmunder Union, Watney's Red Barrel. it's just like I was a man of the world, which didn't know shit. But in my mind, as a 17-year-old drinking beer, I thought I knew.
Oh, you're pretty sophisticated for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, well, I did. I remember the first time I went to a keg party with my schoolmates, and they had Miller. That I literally spit it out. I was like, "What's this?" I was a beer snob at 17. I was like, "Oh my god!" But I was always driven to find new and the best. Now is the whole mission of Monks is to find the best version of any style of beer.
Yeah.
And if the style doesn't exist, we'll make it.
Yeah.
If I think it's going to be viable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Bernadette worked with me. Bernadette Rowe was my first partner I brought in.
Yeah.
After I bought out my business partner Fergie. Yeah. And everybody knows Fergie.
I didn't know that you were. So when you started Monks, you were in business with Fergie? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. He was a bartender at McClinchy's. I was running Copa 2.
Okay.
And we talked a lot. We were friends.
Yeah.
And when he was getting ready to open Fergie's Pub, and he goes, "What beer do I have to carry to get you into my bar?" Yeah. And I say, "Well, you have to have 3: Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Chimay, and Dougal." And he went in, he got all 3 of them, and I went in before they opened, and I bought the first beer at Fergie's.
Nice.
He goes, no, that's on me. I was like, no, I want to buy the first beer before you even open to the public. So I bought the first beer.
Nice.
And then I had the idea for Monks in my head for like 5 years. I had already written a business plan, and I was already scouting locations, but I didn't have enough funding to do it on my own. And then Fergie and I were just having some beers one day, and he said, "Well, hey, let's just do this." And we found the location, and we did it. Yeah, and people were saying that the person we bought the restaurant from said that it's never going to work.
Was it the same general setup as it is now? It was like
physically, the back room was a dining room. There was no bar there.
Okay.
Yeah, so a gentleman named John Doherty, who is a salvager of historic and architectural gems. Yeah. He, just pulled out all this old, beautiful stuff, and we sketched out stuff, and he just built it from scratch for us.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Monks is, it's hit the vision I had, 5 years before I opened Monks. It hit it.
So I want to keep trying some of these beers, but I have to ask, like, the beer is amazing at Monks, obviously, but the food is also incredible. Like, did you have an understanding of the kitchen, or has that just grown over the years?
Well, I went to culinary school.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we opened, all the recipes were mine.
Okay, wow.
The duck salad. I came up.
Yeah, so it's had.
Well, you had the sandwich version of it.
Okay,
duck salad is the whole duck breast. I came up with that one night, and Fergie was at my house with a bunch of other people, and we just had a big party. And as it was winding down, people were leaving, and Fergie was still there. And I said, "Hey, I have some duck. Let me, are you hungry?"
Make a little sandwich?
Yeah. So I fired up the grill and went into my garden, picked, lettuces and arugula. And I had some craisins, and I soaked them in Sam Adams triple vodka, actually, to rehydrate them. And I put some walnuts, sauteed them with some cayenne pepper and butter. And I had some goat cheese that I actually made like a couple days
Wow.
before, and I made. That's how it came up.
Tasting my meal that I had yesterday.
So I was in a rather advanced state of refreshment by then, but I was really happy with how it turned out. So
You were cooking.
yeah, I was cooking. So that became one of our staples from the get-go.
Cool.
And like all the recipes were mine to begin with. And then we had a chef, Adam Glickman, who did a great job. He and I would collaborate on a lot of things, bounce ideas off of each other, get in the kitchen and cook. But when Monk's first opened, I was in the kitchen day and night.
Wow.
Yeah, for the first several months.
Wow.
Until I had everybody trained up. And then I was like, okay, now I can be out front. It's like,
Yeah.
the easy part of the show.
This episode of the Brewdat podcast is brought to you by Zilka & Co., your trusted regional brewing supply partner. Family owned for over 100 years of business, Zilka delivers world-class products at competitive prices with flat $5 delivery fee. No pallet or liftgate charges thanks to their own fleet of regularly maintained trucks. With locations in Allentown and Hunker and a technical brewer on staff, they provide the expertise and service your brewery deserves. Reach out to Brad Adelson in the show notes and let him know Brewdat sent you.
I guess, we have so many beers.
Yeah. Well, do you want to taste this other one my daughter and I did?
Yes.
Yes?
We want to taste whatever you want us to taste.
Let's see. Well, if you guys can finish this. Just be careful. It should settle. Yeah, I have no concept time ever. So,
He's letting us know the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
How we doing?
We're doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in New Zealand right before COVID broke.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
March of 2020, my daughter had just traveled to New Zealand on a work study
Yeah.
or work travel visa.
Yeah.
And, well, that's lively. Yeah, where's your, yeah.
And she's still over there?
She's still over there. She loves it there. But when we were there, we met Chaz from Crooked Stave and Sean from Hill Farmstead. They were both over there at Freestyle Hop Farm.
Yeah.
So we met them there, and the idea was to find some. Here we go. find some hops that we could do collaborations with. And then, of course, COVID happened, which altered things. So this is this is a blend of rhubarb beer and also Lou Pepe framboise. So this has a lot of raspberries in the 40% of.
It's got
the beer.
more of a bite to the acidity.
Well,
I mean, and
yeah.
It's like a hint of the fruit. It's not overpowering fruit. But
And that'll dissipate over the years. So this won't sour as long as the others.
yeah.
The only fruit that really holds up well is Creek cherry.
Yeah.
So that can hold. I've had those about 20 years old. They're not pretty. They turn a little tannish brownish instead of the bright red.
This is still red.
Oh yeah. Well, it's from the rhubarb and the raspberries.
Yeah. So are you putting raspberries and rhubarb in this beer, or it's like barrels that are already aging on those?
The barrels were, there was straight lambic aging in barrels.
Yeah.
Then we introduced, Jean, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
He introduced the rhubarb to
Okay.
some of the barrels.
Okay.
And then we had to taste the barrels and select which ones we were going to use.
Got it.
And then he already had some Lou Pepe framboise going, so we tasted that. And then as we're blending, I'm getting ready to say stop, and he goes, "You have to remember, there's this many liters in the hose." I'm just like, fuck. Okay, let's back this off a little bit. Let's
Let's do some
slow it
math.
down. That's like, let's respect time. Yeah. So this is such a drinkable beer, and I don't know anybody that sat and drank all three of these. I've never sat and had these three beers together.
I'll be honest. When we sat down, I was like, I was ready for my palate to get destroyed. I'm like, I thought these were going to be like overpoweringly sour and just crush me. They're so clean.
Yeah, we always strive for elegance in all the beers.
It's got tartness, but it's not like.
Yeah, there's not the acidic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people, if you don't take care of the beer, it can become acidic.
Yeah.
We handle these like so gently
Yeah.
and keep them in the proper temperature. And if it starts developing too fast, we'll put it in a colder room to retard the aging process.
Yeah.
So it's not going to stop it, but it'll slow it down just a little
Even
bit.
like the head is perfect. It's just like tight little, like the bright white bubbles.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I get lucky.
So, you're part of this blending. Were you a part of Nottinghead?
Yeah,
So Nottinghead was like probably like
I owned a third of it.
a third of it. So you were a part of the. Was Nottinghead? I guess that and Dock Street were probably the first two.
Well, it was Sam Adams that we bought the Sam Adams Brew Pub.
And it was. Is that connected to Sam Adams from Boston?
Yeah, so.
Because they don't have brew pubs now, right?
Well, they do in Boston.
Okay, not here.
Well, they did. I don't
Yeah,
know if they still
yeah.
do. That Sam Mink, who owned David Mink, who owned the Sam Street Oyster House,
Yeah.
had a space upstairs, and he was really into beer. He loved having oysters with stout.
Yeah.
And he just like, I want to do a brew pub. So he paired with Jim Cook from Sam Adams.
Cool.
And they created this brew pub, but it was an extract brewery. So they would pour the extract in and add the water.
What?
It wasn't a full
That's
grain
crazy.
brewery.
I've never
They
heard
did.
anyone doing that on commercial.
Well, William Reed was the brewer there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he made some stupid good beers. I was like, how do you do that? Out of I was a home brewer. I could make like very drinkable beers, but from a kit, I would never succeed at doing all grain at home. But
Yeah.
which is now why I like to go to big breweries and do it because they have all the machines and the clean in place things. I don't
Yeah.
have to shovel out the mash tun all the time. But David Mink and Jim Cook partnered on that. So we bought that when they were open for 10 years.
Yeah.
And that was their agreement was for 10 years. And then Jim Cook didn't want to do it or David Mink didn't want to do it. I'm not sure. But David came to me and asked me if I wanted to take it over. And I went up, looked at it, and it's like, I can't do it on an extract brew kit. I have to do all grain. So I hired a brewer, Brandon Greenwood, who is an awesome brewer, and he's at Yards now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just an awesome guy. Put him on retainer for almost a year, just while we were building it out, and had him design a new brew kit. So,
And you guys, I guess, the specialty beer there was everyone knows it, Berliner Weiss.
oh yeah,
So I guess you guys like you wanted to kind of take these beers, but like, what can we do in Center City, Philadelphia?
yeah.
And Berliner Weiss was the answer.
Well, was a great summertime beer.
Yeah.
And there was nobody that, to our knowledge, nobody in America was making a Berliner Weiss.
Were you putting what was like the red and the green?
Well, there's
flavoring?
Woodruff syrup,
Yeah.
and the raspberry syrup.
Were you guys doing that at the bar?
We had versions of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would grow Woodruff in my yard, and then I would make a simple syrup out of it. And
Wow.
so you couldn't just buy the Woodruff syrup.
No.
But there were some people who would buy beer for takeaway, and they would make Woodruff syrup. Still green, but different effect.
That's funny.
Yeah. I didn't ever taste that. It was like beer's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a couple classic beers like Monkey Night Fight with lemongrass. That was an awesome beer too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a triple.
No, I don't think it was a triple. It was lower ABV.
Okay.
Just another summer bright, refreshing
Got it.
beer. So you guys like this one?
Yeah, this is really good. It's like a different angle. Like the one we had was super citrusy. This is fruity, but it's not bright like lemon citrusy. This is
Right.
like you said, the rhubarb and the raspberry.
Yeah, you get that raspberry tartness
Yeah.
and the earthiness of the rhubarb. So I thought that blend of character would make for a good beer.
Definitely, it's a little bit earthy. I think it's a little bit more bite, like sour bite to it as well.
Yeah, it's a little more acidic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could describe more of what I was feeling as well. I just can't get it.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious.
So this beer. Where is this from?
This is from Yvonne Debates from
so
Brasserie de Adelson.
When you first got here, Mike was saying that this is his favorite beer in the world, or what he thinks is the best beer in the world.
This just came in yesterday, so
Fresh.
yeah. So you need to do a little rinse. So this is a Saison. He did this years ago for a beer fest. So it's a Saison that he pitches his house strain of Brettanomyces. And it's just so good. Yvonne's one of the best brewers in the world.
What's his name?
Yvonne Debates. Debates. When I write it, I always get the A and E in the correct
There's a
order.
lot going on there.
Yeah. Right now we're pouring his Zena Pils, which I love.
What is it? It's a Brett Pills?
No, we're
No.
at Monk's.
Oh,
We're
okay,
pouring
gotcha, all right.
the Zena Pils, which is the Zena River used to run under Brussels.
Yeah.
And they covered it under. So they do a Zena beer and they do Zena Pils, and their Pilsner is just so good. It's so crushable. So we have it on draft. I think we just got 6 kegs in, so they'll be gone in like 2 weeks. It's a staff favorite. Once it's a staff favorite, it's like, all right.
It's funny, like some local breweries, like they put beers like this on, and they're like, well, it'll kick in like 6 months, and you're like, at your bar, it's like, 2 weeks, this is gone.
Oh, no, nothing. If something's on a week, we take it off and dump it out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's for 2 reasons. One, the beer has now been exposed to CO2 for too long, so it's going to alter the character. The bars of pressure are going to change because I don't have like a argon blanket pushing it down. I can't afford to do that. So the beer is not in the condition that the brewer intends it to be. I can't serve it. So then we just pull it and dump it out. If we can make something out of it, cuisine-wise, we'll do that. But generally, we just dump it out.
But the consistency, the quality is just...
Yeah, we clean our lines between... every time we change a beer, we clean the line. So if I go from one IPA to a different brewery's IPA, we clean it, rinse it, and pour the beer through. But if I have Pliny the Elder on and it kicks, we just tap the next keg, because every Wednesday we clean all the lines with the recirculating pump. So everything gets cleaned. Like, you have to have a recirculation pump to properly clean your lines. Then you have to take the faucets out, scrub them. You have to clean the keg connectors.
I went to a CBC a couple years ago, and they had the clear tap line, or tap handles.
Yeah.
So you could see the recirculating pump, and they actually had a little foam ball that was cleaning it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, those foam balls are bullshit, though.
I think it was just to show that it was
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, without a recirculation pump, it's kind of cute.
Who was it the other day? We were talking about the presentation, beer host Al from Concrete Blues. Brewers treat beer perfectly a lot, or they should, and then it gets into the package. And sometimes a lot of places gets forgot about.
Yeah.
And then at the bar level, then it gets presented to the customer at a not ideal situation. But you're treating your tap lines like brewers are treating their brewing equipment, they're cleaning that often.
Oh, yeah. Well, any brewer can come in and taste their beer, and which is why I get all the beers I get.
Yeah.
Because a brewery will come in and taste the beer. It's like, oh, well, that's how it's supposed to taste. Then you go to another bar that has a beer, and it is a whole different animal. And I call fellow bar owners out when I taste a beer that I like and it doesn't taste good. I call them out. It's like, you have to clean that line. You're embarrassing the brewer right now.
There's a lot of places in Fishtown. I live in Fishtown.
This should be in the other glasses. Whoops.
Oh, sorry.
Cheers. So this is also a strong one. This is the buckwheat imperial stout.
Buckwheat. Does buckwheat have gluten in it? Is buckwheat,
I don't know.
I don't think people are drinking.
I'm not a scientist, but I play like one behind the bar.
So, just what are some of the differences like for the glassware? Is it purely like aromatics?
A lot for aromatics, yeah. That's straight-sided is for like saisons and lambics. These are the best glass for that. That concentrates the head, so the mousses can be dense. If you start doing those in this kind of glass, the beer just kind of looks flabby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think Monk's has like some of the coolest selection of like glassware per beer
Oh yeah.
of a bar I've ever been to.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Europe, there's some bars that they won't serve you the beer if they can't find the glass.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, come on, I just want the beer, please.
Like beers, brand specific glassware.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a place called the Culminator in Antwerp, and Dirk won't serve you the beer until he finds the glass.
It must be perfect.
He's awesome. So this, also another big beer. This is 13.3. So
I'm
this
walking home.
exactly. It's what I Ubered it here. These were aged in tequila barrels.
Oh wow.
And we used tequila barrels and whiskey barrels for the first batch we did. And this is the second batch. And the tequila barrels were fresher, so it picked up more of the tequila character.
Yeah.
You could smell the tequila in it.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really chocolatey too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people would think we added chocolate to it. But now this brewing experience at Firestone Walker is we didn't get to do anything. You just kind of press the button and then everything happens. Everything's sealed.
Yeah.
It's a very high-tech sanitary brewery. So
Well,
it's
Matt Bernaldson's like a scientist.
that is
They're like
awesome.
the top hop scientist. Like, he understands. He's like the leading hop scientist in the country. Like, just took over brewing.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's adorable. And he also turned me on to a wine fest, the Hospice de Rhone, which happens in Paso Robles, I think every year or every other year. And it's all the Rhone winemakers that make Côte Rôties and Chateauneuf de Pape and all these awesome, big-bodied wines. They all come to Paso Robles because the terroir is very similar, and that wineries there make those Petit Syrahs and those type of wines in that area. So it's the largest Rhone festival in the world is in Paso Robles. So Matt turned me on to it, and I went out to it. It was just an incredible meet Gigal and Beau Castile and all those guys. It was awesome. But there's another winery there called Saxum.
Yeah.
And it's was rated one of the top wineries in the world, but you can never get it. It's such a small winery. And Matt's like, I know the guy. So he takes us over there, and we're tasting out of the barrels. I was like, oh my God. So can I buy some wine? He goes, well, you have to be a member of the club, and that's a long waiting list. And I was like, well, if I say I know, I was like, how long is the list? He goes, about 3 years. And I was like, well, if I say if I name drop, and he goes, then it's 5 years. I was like, well, I don't know this guy. So, but I now get that wine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Patience again.
Yeah, again. And it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Saxon makes some incredible wines. So this has complexity, but it's totally different than the complexity of this. To basically the same style of beer, made with different ingredients. This was buckwheat, this with beechwood smoked malt. So you can do the same style of beer, just change one or two aspects of it, and it's a radically different beer.
I think the chocolate flavors of this go really well with the tequila, undertones on it.
Yeah.
I don't think those two things specifically go together, but I think that the hint of tequila, I think, like kind of enhances the chocolate.
Tequila aspect is tamped down a little bit now from the first. I was just like, wow, it's just like doing a shot at a beer.
No, it's really good.
Okay, this one I did with Tommy Arthur at Lost Abbey. Felicia and I were on the way to Coachella, because it was supposed to be Radiohead, Beyonce, and Kendrick Lamar.
You went to Coachella?
Yeah, so
That's a pretty good lineup.
yeah. Well, then Beyonce went and got pregnant, ruined the whole thing. I was like, God, what an inconsiderate bitch. But they substituted Lady Gaga, which didn't thrill me. But it was a great thing. But we went down to see Tommy, and we blended this beer for our 20th anniversary.
And what is this then?
This is 24 steps, and we have 12 steps to the basement of Monks.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay.
I wanted to call it 12
Oh, wow,
steps,
look,
but
it has monks on it.
yeah.
That's so cool. Oh, that's sick.
So all of their labels, they have a painting of. They have an artist who does the actual painting.
Yeah.
And no brewers get in to see my beer room.
Yeah.
And Tommy was trying to get get into my beer room. I was like, well, you bring me the original painting of that, and I'll take you on a tour of my beer room. So he came out for another event. I think he was doing setup in New York, and he goes, okay, can I see the beer room? I was like, where's the painting? He goes, well, we didn't bring it. I was like, well, then you don't see the beer room.
Yeah, I thought these were the instructions were clear.
Yeah, come on. So then he did bring me the painting, and it's hanging in Monks.
Wow.
But I wanted to call it 12 steps, but his PR department didn't like the 12-step program.
I
I was like, come on, it's funny, 12 steps.
So is this what I guess I won't be going in your barrel room, but is this
Nah.
what your
It's an artist license.
Okay, all right. That's really good.
Yeah, a little peach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we, just taste it from a bunch of barrels again, samples, and then, you get the measuring, and you do centiliters, and you just keep trying to blend till it's like what we all think is the best blend.
Do you ever get into like disagreements with like your counterparts?
Yeah, and if I know I want to do what my vision is and respect the house character of the brewery and the brewery's vision.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they compete a little bit. And sometimes depends on who it is. I may just seed it immediately. And sometimes they're absolutely right. When I just like, well, let me just walk around and drink some water, and I come back, and sometimes it's like, yeah, you're right. This does taste better.
Yeah, but when you're blending, like, you're not drinking the beer right there. You're drinking to what it's going to be like, sometimes 20 years in advance. So sometimes are you tasting something like, I don't like this, but I know it's going to change into this?
Yeah, you have to anticipate.
Yeah.
Yeah, anticipatory flavor. Never thought of that, but yeah. So when I did this beer at Russian River, I went out and I brewed the beer, and I shoveled out the mash tun. I climbed up the ladder to, put the bags of malt in, put it on a pallet, and pallet jacked it, and moved it over to the brew kit at the new brewery in Windsor, the little 5-barrel test brewery. They're going to carry it up those steps and dump it in. And I weighed the hops out. I did everything, and I turned all the handles. But Vinny is standing right there the entire time, of course. But he let me brew the entire beer. But he also let me shovel out the mash tun. It's like,
Now, you said you've known him basically from the start of Russian River?
Yeah, so 25 years.
Wasn't he like 25 years old at the time?
He and Natalie were young.
How did you, they're all the way in California, they're 25 years old. Like, how do you come across somebody
Well,
like
I
that?
first heard of Russian River Brewery in a wine magazine.
Okay.
It's Corbel
Yeah.
had a little brewery, and it was Russian River Brewery.
Yeah.
And Vinny was its brewer. And then Corbell decided to get out of the brewing business, and he and Natalie bought the rights to the name. But he's the man who made the first double IPA.
Yeah.
Like he invented double IPA.
Yeah, I think his first brewery was Blind Pig Brewery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's and they're awesome people, and they have so much integrity. When we're looking for beer, we like to meet the brewer. Anybody can look at a beer and describe the color, the aroma, the taste, the follow through flavors, but you need to know why it looks and tastes that way. Like why. Anybody can describe it,
Sure.
but if you go to see the brewer at the brewery, you see the terroir. You go to the grocery store, you see what people eat.
You get the whole story.
Yeah, and then you understand why it tastes that way. What's the history? And that's when you can really describe the beer.
I heard another interview where you said like you understood how this tastes like the first time you met Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's this whole other aspect that you don't understand. Like
Well, he didn't
people-
say that. He was he's incredibly
Yeah.
gracious. Like I remember sitting with him, people would, at Monk's, he would hang out at Monk's frequently.
Yeah.
And people would come and say, "Oh, taste this beer," and I just like, "Ah, jeez." And I taste the beer, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I don't want to spit it out." And Michael was so gracious. He goes, "So, what were your intentions?" It's just so British, so polite. What were your intentions? What the fuck were you thinking? Is what I was thinking. But what were your intentions, sir? Like he was such a gracious human being. So he came into Copa 2 when I was running that, and he didn't look familiar at all, and he's kind of all messed up like Columbo on TV, little rumpled jacket and mumbling to himself a bit. And I said, "Well, what's your name?" And he's like, "Michael." I said, "What do you do?" He goes, "I write about beer." I said, "Wait, are you Michael Jackson?" Because I had the only book he had out at that time. I was like, "Oh my God, I love your book." And then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna wow him with, well, I'm good at this."
Yeah.
So, talk about the beer, and he's like very politely saying, "Oh yeah, yeah," and then he says, "Yeah, well, if you at the DuPont Brewery, they 5th generation and it's farmland." He's describing everything about the scene and his family history, and I'm just like, I get it. He never told me that's what you need to do, but like he showed me that's what I need to do, and ever since then, that's.
Well, you have an understanding of like the flavor itself. You like you're saying, it's enhancing like your understanding of beer. But then like as a publican,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
I'm not a Republican. I don't have to do it again. I'm
Yes.
doing it right the first time.
Yeah.
I don't have to read it.
So you're presenting this beer to the customer. So like I guess you having a full understanding of this is like then enhancing their experience as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm lucky that I've been able to do this for so many years, and people are still coming to Monk's for unique beer experiences. The unfortunate part of it is we love a lot of the local breweries and some other, semi-national brands, but they don't sell at Monk's. We'll buy the keg, and then 5 days later, I'm pulling off and dumping it down the drain.
Yeah.
It just, if they can, like some beers are ubiquitous, they're everywhere. And it's like, I would love to support that brewery.
Yeah.
I love the beer, but it's just not going to sell at Monk's.
Yeah.
I mean, when we went to Monk's, I'm like, I want to get, a Lost Abbey. I want to get a Hill
exactly.
Farmstead. It's like, I want to try the other beers that you have that are local beers, but like, I don't have the chance to drink these other beers in another bar. If I'm going to Monk's,
Which
this
is the
my chance to
paradox
do this.
I am confronted with all the time. It's like, you don't support local beers enough. It's like, we try. We do everything we can. We will put it on and we'll barely make a profit, and we still can't sell it.
Yeah.
Because they're not there to drink a beer they can get at their corner bar or, 50 bars within, 10 blocks of Monk's.
Yeah, I mean,
They're looking for something unique.
it's a very it's an extremely interesting paradox in the sense because you did grandfather in a lot of beer into the city that evolved and made all these locations in a way, but then in turn it's like making the profit and actually like people are going to Monks for the unique beers that they actually
Yeah.
can't
So
get
it's
other places.
kind of created a monster that I can't. Even though our desire is to really
Yeah.
support like Sam from Dogfish Head and Tommy from Yards, like I'll put something on, but I have to get sixels, so I can't buy a half of their beer.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully I can sell through it in 5 days, but sometimes I can't because people aren't there to drink 60-minute because they can get 60-minute at McLinchey's maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like it's something that gnaws at me at times, but I also, and sometimes I think their version is the best version of that style, but I can't get our guests to buy into it. My coworkers will buy into it. We can't get the guests to buy into it. You know, and I just tell people if it's on tap here, it's the best version of that style
Yep.
that we can get our hands on. So this started as a saison, and
it just says beer aged in oak.
yep.
It's like, all right.
And this is technically a contract brew, and I never carry contract brews, but since I brewed it, so Vinny can't sell it at Russian River because of the arcane California laws. So I got
You're the only person who can
100% of it. So we just bottled these. So I brewed the beer, I loaded the bottles on the bottling line, I filled the boxes. Somebody else saved them and stacked them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do everything with this beer. So
All the way through.
Yeah. So that was awesome. It was a 6-month span. So we brewed the beer, chose the barrels to age it in, which is his Sonambic. So Sonoma Lambic, drop the L.
Yeah.
Out of respect for lambic producers. So I asked him to empty those barrels, Sonambic barrels, hogsheads, and put it in the stainless steel kegs, and just hold on to them till see how our beer turned out. Not to rinse the barrels, just to pump our beer into it. And then I went out 6 months later and tasted all 4 barrels. We used 3 of the barrels of the beer I helped brew with Vinny, and then we used a keg of the Sonambic, the spontaneously fermented beer. So that's how that got created. But the 4th barrel we didn't use, David Keane used in his 35th anniversary beer for Tornado, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I guess you're both almost getting like part of the same family tree.
Yeah, well, he's a member of the PNC, the Publican National Committee. So
Is that what this is called?
yeah, PNC.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a group of bar owners. It was Falling Rock in Denver, which unfortunately is closed. Tornado in San Diego. Ian closed that. Tornado in Seattle. Matt passed away. And Tornado in San Francisco, which is now up for sale. So I am going to be the old guy, the oldest guy doing it, and Jesse from Apex in Portland, Oregon. So it's just a bunch of us would get together and talk about beer at the Great American Beer Festival. We'd go out for dinner, just talk about how we source different beers, and then we decided, hey, why don't we just go buy, make our own beer to sell at our bars. And that's what we
You guys
did.
are all kind of thinking the same way, put your heads together. And
Yeah, well, we're all very opinionated. It was always fun hanging out. Well, it was a great crew. Yeah.
Some late night conversations,
Yeah.
arguments, whatever.
Yeah. Fergie and I would just go out and do that, Bernadette one on a couple of them. My newest partner, Rick, who I hired as a dishwasher at Copa 2, 35 years ago, maybe. And then he was a cook and then a bartender. He became a bartender at Monk's, worked, probably close to a dozen years. And then I asked if he wanted to be a partner.
Cool.
So 2 20-year plus coworkers are now my business partner.
Wow.
Yeah, which is awesome. They're great people. But I took Rick to Belgium a couple times in the last year to meet a bunch of brewers. So it's kind of an epiphany to do that. It's great to see Belgium through a fresh set of eyes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure sometimes you see stuff and you've seen it so much now that's seeing it from somebody else.
I'm just walking past it like it's a
Yeah.
row house in Rittenhouse Square or something.
Yeah.
Well, those I look at because they're expensive. So I think the beer scene is still going strong in Philly, especially.
Yeah.
I think it's the best beer drinking town in the country. I think Don Russell is the one who coined that phrase.
Yeah.
He and my God, I'm spacing on his name from Museum Catering. We founded Philly Beer Week to promote. So the three of us got Bruce Nichols.
Yeah.
So the three of us got together and decided to promote Philly as a beer destination, and we got Eddie Friedland in, and Kurt Decker, and all these different
people in the industry.
Tommy Kehoe.
Yeah.
We just got together and talked about it for a few months, and then we just pulled the trigger. So Philly had the first beer week in the world. So and now a lot of other people.
Biggest.
Yeah, the best. Philly is the best. Come on.
Yeah.
So do you enjoy the beers?
This was some of the best beer I've ever had in my entire life.
Cool. Thank you.
When we invited you on, we were like, I'm really hoping he brings some good beer. And I was really
we're really hoping Tom comes.
Yeah. And then who's your partner, the social media person up in here?
Felicia.
When she DM'd Evan the other day, she's like, what type of glassware do you have? And we're like, one, I'm embarrassed that we don't have the right glassware. But two, I'm really excited because it means that he's bringing some good beer. So.
And the other thing is, we were literally about to walk into Monk's as I got that message.
Then you see the glassware we have.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we don't have that.
I wanted to bring sturdy glasses because I was carrying them.
No, this was incredible. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was been great.
Fun.
Yeah, it's great to share beers with people who appreciate them.
Yes.
And that promote the Philadelphia beer scene. I think you guys do a great job and keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's awesome.
We're attacking Gen Z. We gotta get them in the crowd here. So 100%. That's our plan. And we can follow you guys at Monk's online.
Yeah, at Monk's Café Philly.
At Monk's Café Philly.
Yeah, so it's on Instagram, and that's the best place to see it.
Cool. Tom Peters, thank you.
Thank you.
And then you can follow us at the Brewdat podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sweet.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.